Now today we are here for the penultimate round of AOR, and as you guys know, we returned to this league last week, so I'll leave that previous episode linked in the top right. It was my, let's say, successful return after a bit of time away from this league. Of course, I was competing elsewhere in ORL and PSGL, so good to return to AOR to kind of cap off the F1 2020 game cycle, and next week is going to be the finale in Brazil. But for now, this is the penultimate race of the season and we are in Canada, and you can see already we've gone P1 in qualifying, and so far things are going pretty well. The race itself was looking pretty decent as well. I've done a decent amount of practice and I was feeling quite confident heading into this race. The good news is, unlike the last episode, we have quite a full grid, I believe 17 cars for this race, which is great to see, and a much better turnout, which I'm really happy about. So currently we're P3, and we did go P1 at the time, but Maestro Hoffi and VRT Norbert managed to get ahead of us. I had some issues with my stream during qualifying, which meant I only went for 2 runs, so this is my final lap of qualifying. So here we go, down towards the first couple of corners. Important here to take a lot of inside curb at turn 1, avoid the inside curb at turn 2, like short shift out of there to get some nice clean traction. We then throw the car in to 3 and 4, right left chicane, nice and aggressive over the curbs again, brushing the wall on the exit, flat out through 5, and then into 6 and 7. Important here to open the left to really maximise the run through the right, getting a really nice run and exit. Now heading down towards 9 and 10, I believe. Really aggressive again over these curbs without trying to abuse them and getting a warning for track limits. And then down to the hairpin. First gear corner, we make a slight error here, just running a little bit wide, missing the apex slightly, but we do get a pretty decent exit, and we're going to get a nice toe here from Scars in the Haas as well, so that's going to give us a bit of a benefit down the back straight. As you can see on the Delta, we've gained a bit of time, and now the final chicane. This is where you can make or break your lap. We throw the car in, actually quite safe. I didn't really maximize it, I didn't actually gain any time. Across the line we set a 1 minute 7.4, and that will do for pole position for the time being. There's still 2.5 minutes to go, and of course we're out of time now, so we're going to see what everybody else does. And you can see at the end of qualifying we finished in 2nd place on the front row. Norbert Jakob, or VRT Norbert, on pole. He managed to set a 1.74 dead on the nose, and fair play. I think obviously we could have gone quicker. I just had some issues with my stream during qualifying. For some reason the gameplay wasn't showing, so I spent most of quali troubleshooting and I just ran out of time for 3 runs. So had I got a 3rd run, you know, at the prime track conditions, I probably could have got into the 3s, maybe even the 2s. My best lap in time trial was a 0.2 with an optimal 0.1, so there was definitely more pace there. But either way, front row, that's fine by me, I'm happy with that. And we'll now move into the race. So here we are at the end of the formation lap, and we're going to see if we can get a nice clean start. Now this race is actually going to be quite tactical for us. I've got a plan in mind. We are expecting rain towards the end of the race, possibly, so we'll see how that goes. So 5 lights are on, and it's going to be lights out, and away we go. We actually get a pretty decent start, but not enough to kind of get ahead of Norbert in the lead, so we're just going to slot him behind and just follow him basically for the time being, trying to maybe work with Norbert to try and drop the cars behind and drop them out of DRS range. That's kind of the plan here. Now in this race, you know, we are running strict corner cutting limits, of course, so penalties could be a key factor in this race result. Obviously I'm hoping for it to not come to that point and we can just, you know, secure a result without needing to depend on penalties, but we'll see how the race goes. 35 laps, long way to go, and possible rain at the end. So you can just see in the distance there, I believe Norbert may have already got a warning for track limits because he ran a bit wide through that chicane. Down towards the hairpin though, I could probably pass him here, but I'm in no rush. In terms of the strategy of this race, the 2-stop is the way to go. I'm looking at a soft, medium, soft, because I've saved some soft tyres, of course, from qualifying. But with the rain and the possibility of rain towards the end, I'm going to leave myself a bit more open in terms of options. So what we're going to do as we get a first warning for track limits, I'm actually going to go long on this first stint. So we're meant to box lap 8. I'm going to try and go to lap 10 because I want to try and extend this first stint. So you can see now I had a brief moment here actually heading onto lap 3 as DRS gets enabled. I was just being a bit too safe, a little bit too casual, and I actually dropped out of DRS range of the leader. So I quickly recovered, got back on the pace. You can see now by the end of the lap I've set a purple middle sector and we're now within half a second. So we picked up the pace and responded accordingly, setting a new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So I have the pace there if I need it, really. You know, that was kind of the story of this race. If I had to turn it on, I could, but I was pretty much just trying to, you know, run in a rhythm, stay consistent. Now, end of lap 8, Norbert Jakob is going to pit along with a few other guys around us. Patrick in P2 is going to start for one more lap. And like I said before, the plan here is to go long. We're going to stretch this to lap 10, possibly lap 11. It depends how the soft tyres hold up, because around Canada rear tyres go quite quickly and you really need that rear grip. So we'll see how that goes. You can see through that I'm struggling for a bit of grip as we get a warning for track limits, and that's our second one now, which was a really stupid one. I kind of got carried away, I got a bit complacent, but now lap 10 I'm going to pit. So I can feel the soft tyres were starting to lose the edge, so we're going to play it safe. No risk, we're just going to box. We've managed to extend the stint by 2 laps, which could prove to be key if the rain arrives. And also, I've done enough now that I could potentially get these tyres to the end if I had to. So, yeah, we've now got the option of a 2-stop if necessary, and we'll have fresher tyres at all points of the race now. Or we can go to the end and not stop again. So we've given ourselves some good options, and also going long has actually worked out because we've not lost any track position. You can see here we rejoined just behind Norbert Jakob again and ahead of Patrick and Maestro Hoffi. So we haven't lost anything in the grand scheme of things. So that overcut has worked out beautifully and was totally worth the risk. So lap 11, about a third into this race now, and we're going to do the exact same thing as before. So I'm just going to sit behind Norbert Jakob here and try to follow him. Now, you can see behind actually Patrick and Hoffi are battling, and you can see the gap is 1 second. So at this point I've realised, and I was like, right, okay, I'm going to push here and try and drop them out of DRS range, and that way it becomes a 2-way fight between myself and Norbert and not a 3-4-way fight. As you can see now, lap 12, the gap is 2.2 seconds, and I could have passed Norbert for the lead here, but I'm actually choosing to just follow him. The reason for that is because I'm keeping my ERS charged up, I'm saving tyres and keeping fuel on target, as well as a few cars are in the pit lane. And what we're going to do now is we're going to pass him now, because essentially I'm going to try and flip this race. I'm going to pull the pin and see if I can race away in the lead. So here we go, getting the run on the racing point using minimal energy, and we're going to get ahead into the final chicane. And now we're going to see if we have the pace to drop him. I'm not going to drain my battery here, because I feel like if I don't make it work, I can always just slot in behind again and wait for a later time. So at this point, I'm holding all the cards, realistically. I don't know how much ERS Norbert has, but, you know, it shouldn't be an issue for us. Now, you can see that I've got another warning, which meant a 3-second time penalty, which is rare for me, which is a bit annoying, but it is what it is. I just lost focus. Heading on to lap 16, though, you can see we've got a bit of a lap car here, and I get another warning. I just get distracted by the ghost, and a silly mistake again. And I hate it when I make these stupid errors where I'm just not concentrating, but nonetheless, in the meantime, you can see behind, Norbert is still there, 4.5 tenths behind. I wasn't really shaking him off, but at the same time, I wasn't really using the battery. But now, lap 19, this was a lap where I started to push a little bit, and I was using a bit more energy. You can see the delta was growing slightly, and this was a bit of a sign to tell me that Norbert's tyres were starting to go. He's going to have, of course, 2 lap older mediums than me, which should be about 7 to 8% wear. Now, with that in mind, you can see how I'm trying to pull the gap. I didn't quite do enough, and then with DRS, of course, he recovered all of it. But by doing this, I'm making him drain his battery to keep up with me. So this is all part of the plan. You can see I have a big moment there through the chicane. But in general, I tried it. It didn't work out. And we match our personal best, but it wasn't enough. And Norbert Jakob manages to hold on. So a few corners later, on that exact same lap, I accepted that I wasn't going to pull away at this moment. He still had a bit of tyres, and I actually got a tap in the rear from him. But what I'm going to do, because of that, I've lost all momentum on the exit, so I'm just going to let him go. I'm not even going to defend. You see, I'm going to go to the left-hand side, knock it down to lean revs, and just show him bye, basically. And we're going to do the exact same thing as before. So we're going to just follow him, charge up the ERS, and we're going to wait a couple more laps and see if tyre wear starts to play a part. I'm asking there for a weather report because the rain is apparently 5 minutes away. So this is all about timing. So essentially we need to time it late enough that Norbert's tyres are going, but with enough time to drop him before the rain arrives, and I can maximise the performance of my fresher tyres. So here we go, lap 23, we're going to go for it again. I've charged up my battery, I've got plenty of fuel, and now I could tell his tyres were starting to struggle. He was making a few errors and having some issues with the rear tyre wear. So now I'm going to pull the pin, and we're going to stay on board here to see how this happens. You can see straight away I'm going to be very aggressive with my corner entry, corner exits, and also my ERS use. I'm now going to completely drain the battery, or at least, you know, a good amount, because I want to pull away. So you can see here I'm trying to push, and into every corner I'm maximizing it to pretty much the last millimeter within track limits. The gap now up to 8/10, so Norbert will have a DRS on this straight right here. So it's quite hard to pull away around Canada because you've got 3 fairly spread out long straights, but you can see the gap is still rising as I keep pushing with the rich mix, with the ERS. But this chicane right there, I didn't quite maximize it. I lost a bit of time. I definitely could have attacked the inside right curb more, but you can see the gap is now over a second as I keep the pressure on. And now lap 26 onto lap 27, you can see the gap is now 2.7 seconds, and the rain has started to fall. So in the space of about 2 or 3 laps, we just pulled the pin this time. Norbert couldn't respond, he had no tyres left, and that's where going long in the first stint paid off for us. And also I started to use my ERS more. You can see now lap 30 I've got pretty much no battery left. I've pushed as hard as I can. Now the gap is around 4.5 seconds, and actually going through the final chicane, Norbert is going to pick up a crucial 3-second time penalty. I've got overall a nice cushion. Lap 32, the gap is now 5.8, and my tyre wear was starting to come into effect now, so you can see we're in the 70s. Now I probably will make it to the end if I had to on mediums, but for some reason, you can see here behind, everyone is going to pit. So Norbert, Patrick, Johan and Risky, they're all going to pit for intermediates, and I didn't get the option in terms of the radio, and I believe my radio slash MFD slash OSD kind of bugged out in this race because I noticed I had a few bugs, but basically I wasn't informed about the switch to inters. So the very next lap I'm just going to basically cover off everybody. We had about 5.8 seconds over Norbert Jakob, so we're chilling, and we know we've got no big issues right now. And you can see he's got a 3-second time penalty as well. He picked it up on lap 30, which I showed a moment ago, and DRS gets disabled right now. So that is pretty much as good as it gets in regards to timing. We're going to rejoin the racetrack now, and we're going to be comfortably out in first place. We lost a couple of seconds, I believe. The crossover and the right lap to pit was the one before, but still we've got 3 seconds in our back pocket and we can now chill. So the plan for the next lap and a half is pretty simple. I want to keep the delta gap over 3 seconds, and the reason for that is because in case he gets a penalty removed, he still doesn't win the race, because you never want to get too comfortable, you know, with penalties in league racing, and you always have to expect the worst. So yeah, we're going to assume he doesn't have a time penalty, and also I get my 5th warning of the race. So one more warning and we are finishing P2 in this race. So I need to keep it clean, and that's exactly what I did, but at the same time trying to push, because I could tell Norbert was pushing actually. He was a bit faster than me on the intermediates, but I was on the limit. I managed to have just enough pace in my back pocket to keep the gap over 3 seconds just in case, and now making our way through the final chicane. We're going to round off the race here and pick up our 2nd win in a row in pretty much 2 out of 2 in our return to AOR, and we managed to actually do it by 3.3 seconds. So even though Norbert didn't get his penalty removed, just in case, it made no difference and we secured the win. So happy days all round and a really good result, and we get back-to-back wins in the 2 races that I've been back in AOR. So you know what, a great day at the office, a perfect strategy. You know, from that aspect, I really enjoyed this race, and probably my best race on this game, if not one of my very best in terms of strategy. It all worked out beautifully. You know, with the soft tyres in qualifying, I managed to save them a lot, and also in the race, going long by 2 laps meant that I could go to the end on mediums, or box for another set of softs, or box for the intermediates if necessary. And we had the pace the entire time. I kept my battery fully charged and, you know, ready for at any point, if I had to react or respond or pull the pin, I could. So yeah, very, very happy, and the strategy was absolutely on point. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for me in terms of how satisfied I am with that race. But you can see the final results on screen. Myself, Norbert Johan on the podium, Patrick P4 ahead of Failer, great recovery from him from P16. Also Soon by Blue in P6 as well, good recovery from him. And then it's going to be Maestro Hoffi, Risky, Christian Sendel, and Kevgenix running out the top 10. So there you go, guys. That is going to be your lot for this race here today. As always, I stream these races on my Twitch, so link down below, guys, twitch.tv/Tom97HD. And yeah, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the race. As always, like if you enjoyed it. Let's try and break over 1,000 likes on this one. Subscribe for more, and subscribe to not miss out on the finale, which should go live next week at Brazil. And as always, a big shout out to the channel members for supporting the content. And finally, guys, check out the 2 videos on screen if you have missed them. But that is it from me here today, and I'll see all of you next time in Brazil.